Good evening, and welcome to Not a Good Hockey Pod, Episode 3. I'm your host, Alex Nez, and this burly bearded bastard here is my co-host, Mick Finley. And in this episode here, we're going to be attacking the who's who and the what is what in the Central Division here. But before we get into that dog water of a division that we got going on here, I think there's been a lot of hockey news that's been happening. I think we need to touch on it first. It is quite a list that happened here in the past couple weeks. I mean, there's just a massive signing that happened that I'm stoked about. Can't wait to talk about it. I don't know about you. I'm sure you are too.
I don't care.
But I'll hand it right over to you, and we'll
Yeah,
see what we
absolutely,
got.
man. Yeah, so the big one, right? Honestly, probably not the biggest of the news list, but the biggest for you and the coolest, honestly, is Sid signing his extension.
The
Uh,
go,
two
the
more years
go.
of crying
3 more
and
years.
three. Oh, sorry. Well, again, this is his last year and then a 2-year extension. So he signed a 2-year extension. I put this together in my head. Um, not necessarily like I don't know if this is accurate, but I think he picks, and you might be able to help me with this. Does he pick 87 because of his birth year
Birthday. His birthday's August 7th.
of 1987?
Is it 1987? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, he will have played 19 seasons at 8.7 million, so 1987.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty. That's pretty. This guy's a
Yeah.
whack job. All right, let's
He's
be honest.
whack job or genius.
I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. You got to be crazy to be good, right? So,
That is
so
true.
I'm gonna let you take it away, man. It's your guy. Obviously, congrats. Go. What do you think? How you feeling?
It's just the fourth best day of my life, keeping this guy for his signing his fourth contract here. Obviously, I can't be more excited. I think the kid can play until he's fucking 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, without a doubt. The guy is just, he saved the Penguins. He made this city a hockey town. He saved the league, if you ask me.
Oh,
I just can't be, I can't be more stoked than to have him back for a couple more years when there was a lot of speculation as to what was going to happen. I didn't think he was going to go anywhere else, but you never know with retirement. And if he could have just had an enlightenment and went into an Aaron Rodgers fucking darkness retreat and came out, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this no more.
right.
But I'm stoked to have him back. I know this whole city is. I can't wait to watch this next season with him.
Rad, dude. And, I feel like to comment a little bit more on that, having Sid in the league is good for the league. You are right. He also got kind of cheated out of a few years with some head injuries and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm glad he's getting some back. I honestly still can't see them, excuse me, being a contender like they have been recently. I mean, it's funny, right? Like there's that argument, save a little bit of money to build a team around me, but GMs usually just spend that money stupidly, and it doesn't work. But it's really cool the way he handles that and how he his presser was like.
Yeah.
First of all, his press conference was at a fan's house. That's so rad.
Yeah. Yeah. Just had a press conference and was in the middle of giving away season tickets to
Right,
people up in Mars here.
right. And just to
Classic.
say, he means it when he says, like, I just care about winning. I just want to win.
Mhm.
And you could tell. And so great signing. I'm gonna real quick shift. I made a mistake in episode 2 on PWHL teams. The list I had in front of me must have had it misspelled or whatever, but it is the Ottawa Charge. Not
Yeah.
as bad as whatever I thought it was, but that's it. Just update on that. My bad. Um, let's go through a couple more signings here. Well, actually, I'd love to just shift over to my crap. Swayman's still unsigned.
Mm.
About to drink
Yeah.
bleach. I'm about to drink bleach. We got, training camp started. Just on that a little bit, like, I think so far I've touched on my frustrations. I don't even need to go into who I'm more mad at. They both made mistakes, Bruins and his camp.
Mm.
But my issue now, and how I think that this is more hurting the team, is our backup goalie, Brendan Bussey, if this takes a long time, has to go through waivers when Swayman signs, meaning we could just lose a goalie because this took too long. And that's now you're
Right.
hurting the team, not just hurting their feelings or being bummed you're not there. You're actually like actively hurting the team. So sky's not falling yet, but it is in my head at least. I'm losing it. So, but
Right.
good stuff. the Detroit's Iser plan's coming together pretty well with the Raymond and Sider signings.
Yeah,
Both,
brilliant plans. Way to keep Lucas there for long term. That's just great for any hockey team. I think he's
yeah.
showing talent. He's progressing year after year. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure we kind of like dog walked the Red Wings here a little bit. But I mean, signing Lucas Raymond for a long term, not a bad idea.
No, no. Whether we like the Detroit Red Wings, want to see them successful or not, have questions about what this actually is, there's no question about Raymond and Sider.
Right.
That none. I mean, they might not be the end all be all to what fixes everything, but they're both phenomenal hockey players, game
Right.
changers, and they're
Now
both.
you staple that in, you can start building more and more around that, and it's going to be Detroit hockey is not going to be bad for too long. I don't think.
Yeah, and I would say that they're young enough to where I think the contract number fits them,
Yeah.
but they also took a little less. And knock knock Swayman, that's how it works. So if these kids are locked up for 8 years in their prime years for under 9 million each, and the potential is there for them to be, you know, I don't want to say Draisaitl money or Matthews money, but I could see that contract aging very well for them because
Oh yeah.
four years on Sider and Raymond, they're still in their 20s.
Right.
So that 8 million is nothing in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Right.
and who
And I'm,
knows?
I'm sure
Maybe
the
he's,
cap's going to grow over this time too. I
yeah,
think there's already speculation that's going to grow in the next couple of years. So yeah, honestly, it's a brilliant lockup plan. You're not burdening the team at all.
right.
You have two really good pieces of talent on that team now.
Hmm.
And Mo is just, I mean, I've been watching that guy since the minute he stepped on that ice wearing that Red Wings jersey, and I couldn't believe what I saw of this guy. And he's been a keeper for the salt sniffers for
Oh,
since he's been out there. But yeah, great signings by the Red Wings there. The guys are playing, coming together,
yeah.
coming together slowly here.
I still want to know what the fucking plan is, but it is those. They're still good signings. Yeah, and Onsider, he's a dude. He's phenomenal. German machine. Great
Yeah,
player to watch. I'm glad for both of them that they got their bag too because they are kind of young. And
right.
there is some risk in that, right? Like
Oh, for
it's
sure.
it's both risk and reward for both sides. I really love those signings, both of them. And
Especially
that's
when sorry to cut you off, but
no,
especially with Sider, I mean, he's like the only player that has um, like 200 plus hits and 200 plus blocks in a year or something like that. Like the guy just eats rubber.
yeah.
It's insane. So yeah, I mean, great price for him. They, he can get hurt, but he's such a big boy, dude. He's such a big guy. Like, I mean,
Well,
and
you
he's
don't worry
young.
about
If he does get hurt, he bounces back quickly. I don't see anything. Going wrong there because he beats people up. He takes every puck. He's just a phenomenal defenseman, and that's what Detroit hockey is about to be about.
he reminds me a lot of Chara, but with the you know, I mean, there's a Chara element and grit and toughness, but he's got like the smooth, smart skating of a Lindstrom. I mean, he's neither of those two guys, but that's exactly what Detroit wants, right? And they got it. So good for them. All
Yeah,
right, moving on. Moving on. Let's see here. So Harley Lindell. We're gonna
mm-hmm.
be talking about Dallas here in a little bit, so we'll probably touch on them a little bit more. But they got their extensions, right?
Yep.
So
Might as
um,
well.
yeah, the last pod. Oh, by the way, everyone, this is the second time we're doing this shithole of a division because it didn't record right. So I thought Thomas Harley got traded. He just hadn't signed, but he did now. So he is on Dallas. It was never even a trade happening. I'm just an idiot.
Never a doubt. Never.
Never was going to happen. I just care so little about this division that I'm assuming people are traded. Why not?
Listen, you're
Um,
gonna learn today about this Texas hockey, but we'll tap into that.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit. But I do like Thomas Harley. I'm proud of him. Syracuse born.
Yep.
He's a dog. We agree.
Dog.
Dog. But yeah, we'll
And
get
for a
in.
great
We'll
price as well too. Talk about another like lock in such a great player for your team that was a staple last year, especially in the playoffs.
Yep.
And then you sign him for what, $4 million or something like that. So that helps.
I also think like Lindell, especially with things moving around, I'm not as hyped on their back end. It's weird that they, bought out Ryan. They didn't buy out Suter, right? Or did they just let him go? I don't know what happened because I don't know if a player can be bought out twice, although he should be. Um, but losing that fucking anchor of a player in the back. Ryan Suter's had a great career, but I mean he's like Yager's age, I think. Like
Right,
it's
right.
but we'll so Lindell being signed. I mean, both of those are great things. Both of those
Yep.
players are great. So uh, we'll talk more about Dallas. So I'm going to move on from that and roll right into the transition of Yager's last season. He
Hey,
announced it. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk?
yep.
I mean, I don't really give a shit because to me
I
he's
don't give a
not.
damn.
It's
Listen, he's a
he's been
flyer
on.
in my eyes.
Yeah, but dude, he's been. I mean, he's a Penguin. He's a
I know.
Bruin. He's a Ranger. He's a Star. He's been on he's a Panther. He's been on every fucking team in the league. Everybody gets to mourn him. Thanks, Yogs, for all you've done.
Good run. Good
I,
run.
you know why he matters to me? Because he's like Pasta's. That's his hero. So, all right, man. That's why you
Yeah,
matter. I
yeah.
don't care about you though.
It's check blood. It's
Check
just
blood,
a
baby.
check blood.
I'm like part Czech now. You know what I mean?
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw a Vitch at the end of your name here.
Sounds right. Finlevic. Sounds great,
Yeah,
man.
Benlovic. Oh, that's a good one.
All right, moving on. All right, so with retirements, we might as well talk about Opozo retirement.
Mm-hmm. Hey, great run as well. Very, very
Well,
well. I
you
mean,
know what? He's one of those
suffered in Buffalo
guys.
for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he suffered on a lot of teams, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
he's
his
Stanley Cup
Islanders.
champion. Paid
Stanley
off.
Cup, he went out on top, right? That's what I wanted for Pabs last year. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Dallas to win, but I wanted him to win. Um, but Opozo, one of those maybe those guys that like everyone knew but didn't know a lot about his game, or unless you were, he was on your team, right? Like he was really easy to be forgotten. But I don't think he played like a guy that was forgettable. I just think he was an impact player on teams, and I didn't follow any of those teams. You know, I'm glad he got a cup in his career. I'm not glad he got it with Florida, but he stood out. I know he was scratched in the final couple games and stuff, but he
Mm-hmm.
played really well when he needed to, and he earned that cup, man. He didn't just go over there and sit on the bench and come out and skate later. I watched
Right.
him hustle, and it was a good time to go up. So
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
career, buddy. All right, you got anything to say on him, or
No, we can keep it moving.
I think we'll move into some captains named.
Yeah.
There's three that we want to talk about. Obviously, there's been some changes. Like there'll be more captains, but these are some big ones, right? So you shared this with me. I didn't even read this until you shared this, but Gudis was named captain for the Ducks. That's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Radko's cool, man. And you mentioned to me as the first captain in 12 years for
Yeah.
the Ducks, right?
Getzlaff had it for a long time, and then they didn't even have one. And then for I think 2 years, and
Did,
then Brutus came in. But to
oh,
my
oh,
knowledge,
first new captain in 12 years.
yeah,
They
first,
they
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Getzlaff had it for a 12-year stretch or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then there
Mm-hmm.
was a 2-year gap where they were just like everybody on this team's 17 years old. We can't name anybody a captain,
Right.
and
Sure.
then they gave it to the butcher,
Yeah. I
which
love
is
him.
which is good. I do too. I do too.
And it's the same thing like a different type of player, but isn't the Winnipeg captain not Appleton? It doesn't. He's not. It's like Adam or something. Who's the Winnipeg captain? I swear to
Adam
God,
Lowry.
Adam Lowry, right? Like, so it's not
I
the
didn't know that.
Kyle Connor and guys like that. It's the heart and soul guys like Kreider and Lowry and again Gudis, right? So he's joining. He's doing something pretty cool, but he's also joining like kind of like an elite, not the superstar wearing the C. They're not, but they're the guys that you want on your team.
Yeah.
Easy one to talk about. This one was clear as day. Hedman's captain of Tampa. Who else would it have been?
Nobody that I can think of on that
I can
team.
think of one. It would be
I
Steven
mean,
Stamkos, but they made
it,
tremendous
well,
mistakes.
I was saying once he left, I couldn't really,
Right.
I don't know who to step up, but he's been on that team for a long time. He's been a staple to that team. Clearly a locker room fucking leader in there.
Hmm.
Was key point in all of their cups. I mean, top defenseman. Check, check, check. Of course, why not?
Yeah, and he's up there in age. He's gonna continue to be dominant for a couple more years for sure.
But yeah,
But it's one of those things, right? Like Chara was captain in Boston for a long time, and you would say maybe a lot of those years Bergeron deserved that C a little bit more or whatever, right? Like some people look at it that way, some don't. I think they were both captains, right? And I think it was the same when Stamkos was there. They were both captains. So who? There's not even a question. It's not even news. It's just announced.
right.
Obviously, Hedman taking over the reins. So, but the surprise one, Foligno's got the C again.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, again, it's the same thing as the Ducks because other than him, everybody else is what 17 years old on that team, and like, who's going to be the next guy to take over there? He's got a lot of years underneath his belt. I'm pretty sure. I don't know about you, but if I was in a room and that guy was speaking, I'd shut up and listen. So, I mean, probably he's like 6'7". He's a brute. I'm not. I think
no,
it's. I mean, I don't
he's.
really know what the hell's going on in Chicago, but
Well, I'll
it's
tell you
really
this.
interesting to see.
I liked Uncle Nick here in Boston. He loved being a Bruin. He just his legs weren't under him anymore. For the team around him, he's the perfect captain there because he's got a history of being the captain of the shittiest team in the NHL, and he just gets to continue that, right? Like first Columbus for a million years, and now however long he's going to be in the Blackhawks. But it is a proud honor to be the captain of an original six team. I think it's the right move for them. I was a little surprised it wasn't Seth Jones who they gave the bag to and put all this defensive trust in. But like you just said, when he stands up, you sit down, you shut up, and you listen. And I think that's exactly what these kids need right now. And I
Right.
guess you could maybe even say Seth Jones, although weathered, he's still very young, and he could probably use that
Yeah.
guidance too.
Still
So
very good. Yeah.
yeah, so good for him, man. Congrats to Nick. Couple quick more things here. I found this very interesting this morning. Leonard, who goalie for Vegas that has been in player assistance program for a while now, he didn't
Mhm.
report,
Right.
and there's difference, right? There's a difference between being in this player assistance program and doing all the right things, and then your team knows about it, and then having again, I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's been communication or not, but there's a stipulation to report to camp that he didn't. So now Vegas is looking to terminate that contract.
Yeah.
And the last thing that we need is Vegas to have some cap space.
Good point.
But to tie a bow on this, because there's not much to talk about, because Leonard's kind of been gone for a bit now.
Mhm.
Uh, that guy, he struggled in Buffalo, and he alluded to some substance abuse issues and things like that. And I think that Vegas was good for him for a little bit there, but that organization chews you up and spits you out, and maybe it's for the best, man. Focus on
Especially
you
goaltenders.
always.
So yeah.
Yeah, they love throwing him to the curb there, but ultimately, I don't know if they have a bad relationship with him or not. I just think, hey, if there's something that serious going on that you need assistance for a couple of years, maybe Vegas isn't the best environment for anybody. I know.
Not the best town to be in, but no. It's the reason why I
Exactly.
don't show up there. But yeah, I get that. Yeah, hopefully he can get healthier, get better, focus on himself a little bit. I know he's been struggling for a while, even since when he was on the Islanders, I think he was where he started out.
Sabers.
Sabers.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, best of luck to him. Hope he does turn it around, get some traction underneath him, and
Yeah,
and run
life's
around.
life's more important than this shit,
Life's
dude.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and then the final thing I'll say, I was reading earlier, and I know this has been a lot of news. We're 20 minutes in, but honestly, whatever I can do to avoid talking about this shit whole division again is fine. But uh, there are rumors of expansion down south, and it seems like there's some traction there.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. The only thing I want to say about it is the NHL has clearly had a lot of success with Seattle and Vegas.
Hmm.
Um, don't go to Atlanta.
I was about to say the Thrashers coming back, baby,
No,
or
don't,
what?
don't.
Oh,
And in fact, I understand that there's like a desire, and there's obviously like the nostalgia strings, not with for the Thrashers. No one gives a shit. No one cares. But they've tried in Atlanta a few times, and
yeah.
and it's failed each time. Don't do it again. And honestly, I don't like the idea of going to Quebec or Hartford either, which sounds crazy because I love those jerseys and I love the nostalgia. And trust me, Joe Sakic and that fucking,
Sure.
Quebec jersey and like hating Ulf Samuelsson and hating the Whalers, like all that shit's a huge part of my mind. But man, it has been fun to have Vegas and Seattle in, and hoping Utah kind of follows suit in a name like that, kind of like a new cutting edge one. I'm thought I'd be a little bit more of a curmudgeon about that stuff, but it's been successful,
Hmm.
and they need to keep that going. Like they shouldn't go backwards. Don't do Atlanta, don't do Quebec, don't do
Right.
Hartford. Find something new. Kansas City.
That
Why
would,
not?
yeah, it's good sports town,
Why not?
for sure. Yeah. What you got? Any other cities that I'm trying to think too? I'm like,
Houston
where?
has always been talked about. Houston is not attractive to me, but it is definitely a sports city. I mean, there's money there, right? I
Yeah.
know that I know without knowing that Bettman wants to be where there's money. I mean, he's the commissioner; it's his job,
Right. And,
So
and Texas teams don't really hurt either because you're so centralized. So when you have the traveling of everything too, it's still in a good spot in that state where you're not really interfering with the Stars. You're not interfering with the Preds or anything. You're not kind of
right.
just all bunching up there in the middle where it's like you do Kansas City and then like what do you have around there? You got Chicago a little bit that's nearby. Yeah, so I mean it wouldn't hurt to have a Midwest team either.
Well, I mean, all of the expansion has been in the West,
Right.
including even the Utah shift, right? So, which you can't really consider it. It's a lateral move, right? Um, but there's obviously more space to expand. I mean, New York itself as a state has three NHL teams.
Right.
I think they have 11 major sports teams.
I'll say everything in the Northeast we're fine with. We
Right.
can keep it how it is. But South, Midwest, something like Houston, I wouldn't mind. I was thinking Houston more
Yeah,
so out of anything.
I think it would work. I don't love it. I mean, like, same thing. Go back to Cowboys and then the Texans, right?
Right.
Who the fuck cares about the Texans?
A lot of people now they're fucking picking up, but
Right. I
different
don't, though.
podcasts you could get that news on.
Right. I don't care about them. I don't care about football. But ultimately, if I was going to pick, if you were like, hey, name a football team in the South, it would probably be the Cowboys. And the dead last one would be the Texans for the majority of people that don't follow. So if they made it Houston, I would expect the same thing. Like it would be the behind the team of the Dallas Stars, not just because of their success, but who cares?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's always weird for me. It was just like hearing hockey's grow in the South, which is awesome. I would love to see the sport grow in places where it doesn't naturally grow. But I'll never forget the time when the Pens beat the Preds, and I go down to Nashville the year later, and the lady who was running the Johnny Cash Museum was like, "We wouldn't know what hockey was unless he strapped a puck to the back of a NASCAR and just walked away." And I was just like, "See, the South is the South."
yeah,
But
how's
it's still, if you want to grow the game, there's some untapped markets down there that I think would be a good way to kind of still expand it if you're looking for more teams to go into this league.
I think I'm a part of the growth of the NHL, and I remember when I was real young getting those NHL bed sheets with all the new teams on it, and
Yeah,
I like crossed out all of the Predators stuff because of how much I hated that there was a team in Nashville. And I think it was because my child brain associated that with like honky tonk only, and so it just didn't equate to
yeah,
what I knew of hockey. Um, but you can't really grow in a market that's saturated, right? Like, I
right.
mean, you can say there's 8,000 states up here in New England that don't have a hockey team, but they don't. They also aren't asking for one. Like they have one, especially New England. Like, but yeah, I mean, grow it where it needs to grow. Give it some access more to more kids. I mean, that's none of my business, right?
Make it
But I
watchable. You got to make it watchable.
Yeah.
So as long as they can kind of even just team up with, I don't know, any cable company down there, I don't know how that shit works, but all I know is they need to stop blacking out games in your actual city that you're trying to watch it in. They need to make it more accessible, because it's still, I mean, how many times, me and you just are the only ones who talk hockey to each other. Everybody else is like, I have no idea, but you can watch football 7 days a week. There's a whole new game, no matter what. Spend $800 on all these services, and you're going to get it. But it's tough to watch any hockey game, So
I for
make it
years,
accessible.
being out of market and stuff, like I've had to hop around and steal people's logins and like find back ways of like watching games. It's gotten easier, but every year there's a new thing you need to sign up for eight of them. And then, so I mean, my subscription list of like streaming services is like six just to watch one team. That's not fair.
Right,
You know what I mean? And like I'm blacked out, but I'm not in Massachusetts or New England anymore. What does that mean? Like, why? Oh, because the cable company has the rights to buy them.
right. Yeah, when I'm
Take a
2,000
hike,
miles out west, I can watch the Pens win. But when I'm sitting in the city and I'm, what, 10
five
miles
mile.
away from the
Yeah,
stadium and
right.
I can't watch a single game, I got to, figure out some bar to get to. But
It sucks. And
yeah,
I don't even want to go down it. We have to attack this. We are both
we are
obviously
avoiding.
trying to avoid this conversation.
We are
I
trying to
do.
dodge this.
I was just gonna bring up not being able to watch the Yankees in New York. That's how far away I want to be from talking about these shit dog teams. Okay. But we have to. So let's just dive in, man. Again, let me preface this with saying we're not ever claiming to be the know all of anything. And since we've already done this take, we have agreed to not change our lists, and we don't agree. And that's fine. We're not here to be the people that know exactly what's going on, right? We don't agree on some of our picks. I don't want people taking this as like I know what I'm talking about or you know what you're talking about. This is what we as fans think. I
Yeah,
think it's
this
important
is
to say that.
brand new first chapter of this season here. Yeah, it's all speculation. We have no
Hmm.
idea what the hell's going to happen, but um, unless you're me, and we're just going to take all the money from FanDuel this year because I just know everything about this division.
Sure.
That's the mindset I'm going to take with this here.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a repeating thing.
Something like that. All right, we jumping into this.
Yeah, I
All
know we don't
right,
want to, but let's do it.
all right, cool. So I'll just kick it off here.
All right, buddy.
Um, I'm gonna go with my number one here, and I'm still sticking with Dallas. I think Dallas is that team. I think it's their division to keep and win, because there are some teams on their heels for sure, and there's a lot of the teams underneath them, can easily snatch that from them. So without them having Joey Pavs there, let's see how they are as a team again. I know that's a good chunk, but I just don't see it really hindering them to where they can still lose that spot. I still think they're young. I still think they got that fire in them. Pete DeBoer is just a fucking great coach too. He's just not going to let up on that team either. I don't see him like letting his foot up off the gas pedal there.
Hmm.
Um, However, that also plays a big part in is how is Tyler going to do? How is
Yeah,
Jamie going to do? Um, are they going to regress at all? Are they going to be the people that were kind of in the shadows for a couple of years there? I don't think that's going to happen personally, but they're surrounded by such young talent that they can kind of sit back and just direct the puck where they need to be or call the shots and stuff, the plays and everything because Jason Robertson's just such a phenomenal talent there. Um, the dude is just gonna fucking. I think he's just gonna go off this year. And now he's got an awesome kid going into his sophomore year here with Wyatt Johnston. I think he's. I mean, everybody's the talk of the town.
hmm,
If he doesn't have a sophomore slump, I think he's just gonna crush it. But yeah,
that's your
Matt
number one.
Duchene, they're kind of deep, They still have like 70% of their top line just looks phenomenal to me.
Yeah,
And even their like bottom line too, still nothing to really scoff at. Matt Duchene has this chip on his shoulder from what I've seen, where he just hates the Avalanche, and you kind of need that guy to hate the Avalanche if you're going to go over them.
sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they got some solid defensemen. They locked up Thomas Harley. That kid looked like a stud towards the end of the year there, pivotal piece in the playoffs.
Dog.
Dog. If he just keeps on going and doing the things that he's been doing, um, you have Otter on the back end for any mistake that you make, and that guy can definitely fill a lot of holes on the front end there if there are any. Otter is the guy just stands on his head.
Yep.
So I mean, it's top to bottom from coaching to goaltending. I just think they're a tough ass team, and I just don't see them getting worse from last year.
Yeah, man, I can understand that. They are not my first pick. It's hard to say. Two of my best friends are Dallas fans. They're going to hate this take, but I don't have the belief in them because of their off season and things like that. I have them as number two. I want to just talk about my opinion on that and share my perspective of Dallas before I go to my number one and just say, I agree with everything you said. They are head to toe fantastic. The question marks really only are what's Ben and Sagan going to look like another year into this. Wyatt Johnson's phenomenal, Otter's phenomenal, Robo's phenomenal. I mean, you can say a lot of good things. The one that stands out to me the most is like the most exciting is Stankoven. Again, this kid showed up. He's got some playoff experience now. I always love that two-way center, man. I
Yeah,
love two-way forwards.
yeah.
And he's just a dog, and he's gonna have a great NHL career. And they got a diamond in a rough there with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really, really interesting. But and my butt on this and why I'm not putting him in first is besides Otter. I know we talk about like, hey, you can't really base the idea on injuries happening, but injuries seem to happen with him. And then when he's gone, I don't see their defensive structure being big enough and good enough for it to withstand. Um, Again, I'm not saying that they're the worst team in the division, right? I'm saying second. So what I'm saying is I don't know if there's enough time in an 82 game season to really favor them over who my number one is. But with Otter being healthy, I don't see why he couldn't play 65 games a year and win 66 of them. Like he's that good, right? So nothing but compliments up and down. Pav's gone kind of shakes that room's direction a little bit. I think Ben is a good captain. From everything I've ever seen from him, he seems that way. But I feel like Ben and Sagan are a little bit removed from what's going on there. I feel like they've aged out a little bit.
Mm.
Um, it's not a slight to either one of them. Jamie Benn's a sexy boy. Who wouldn't want him on their team, right? Like, but Jamie Benn is every step is getting harder to watch, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you this too. I go back to the playoffs where he made some really bad penalties. And you know what I'm talking about. And we don't even have to get into
Yeah.
it, but that's not what
Right.
captains do in the moments you need them the most. So
Mm-hmm.
when Dallas goes back and they're licking their wounds and they look up and they're like, well, he's the one that did it. Like, that sucks. That sucks to be the leader in the room that did that. So when I say they're a little bit removed, I think Pavs was the glue, and I'm saying I think now they will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on Dallas. I'm putting them second firm again. Could they be first? Sure, but I
Yeah.
have more belief in Colorado than them. And Colorado, I feel like everyone just put their hands up on them because, again, this past week I've been, doing my research, looking at teams, especially this division I don't pay a lot of attention to, and I see a lot of people putting them third in this
No.
division. I'm like, nope. I
No.
could totally understand first or second, but third. So I was trying to be a little bit more like, why? And I can't find a fucking reason. Like their team is phenomenal, man.
Oh, it's
They
stacked. Yeah, it's still good. Still very good.
I understand that if you were going to put the rosters side by side like we did in our first take, and I was like, yeah, the goalies is the big thing, right? There's a clear indication that Ottinger and co. are better goalies than what the Avs currently have, statistically.
Right.
And then you said something to me, right? You lived there. You went there and you're like, they just seem to find a guy, put him in net, and it works. And you're right. That's the same thing that happened in Vegas. And like, I'm not willing to just throw this team out the window because their captain had crazy knee surgery and things like that. You're talking about a team just defensively. Here's their top six.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's insane. It's insane.
Makar and Taves, Gerard, Calvin DeHaan, Eric Brandstrom,
Yeah, Eric Branstrom is a nice addition to this team.
Josh
Um,
Manson, Shillington. Dude, that's seven top four defensemen. Okay, go ahead, score on that. I know that they're offensively gifted, but they don't have turds sitting next to them. They have defensive minding defensemen on each line.
right.
Like like I said, Brandstrom is like
Terry
Gerard
Branstrom
Light.
is nice. And then they got a big boy out there too with Middleton. Not
Yeah. Not
the
the
dude.
not the other one, that Keaton Middleton guy they have, right? He's like
Right.
he's a tree.
Yeah. Yeah, Keaton Middleton's got to be like what 6'7" on skates or something
He's
like
six
that. So
six, 240. He's yeah. I mean, they have the answers defensively, and they have the play defensively. Whereas I see Dallas collapse and choke, collapse and choke, collapse and choke, collapse D, collapse D, collapse D. And I've been yelling
until
this.
last year a bit. Until
Oh
last year.
no, no, no. So let me count out last year. Last year defensively, they were dogs, and I gave them all the credit in the world, and I was rooting for them as soon as the Bruins were out too. But years of this.
Right.
Whereas meanwhile, up in the Mile High Club, they're fucking all over the ice, man. They're doing everything. I mean, when Cale Makar came on, I'm pretty sure you're the one that coined for me, he's an alien.
Yeah.
He's a
Dude's
fucking
an alien.
alien, dude.
Yeah.
There's no human being in there.
Yeah.
Because I have watched him not just do impressive, like, ESPN takes. It's just like, how the hell was he there and then now he's here? Like, there's ice between those places. Like, how
Right.
the fuck did he get there?
Right.
And he's not enough. But then you just, okay, let's laughably look at the top six.
Oh,
Even
he's
without
enough.
Landeskog, go up to the forwards, and any team that has Nathan McKinnon centering it with Mikko Rantanen on the wing, what are we talking about here? There's no
And
way
then
they're third.
they also scooped up Druin too,
Right.
which can be overlooked easily. But man, what a perfect like he was supposed to like he got coined this kid that was supposed to come into the league and be the next guy, like all these young talents are, and he
Yep.
just wasn't, and he kind of seemed to get a little injured, fold under the pressure maybe a little bit that he had. And then man, you put such still a high talent next to McKinnon there and I'm excited to see what he really turns into here over the next couple of years. I really like this Druin piece on the Avs as well.
Well, you got to remember that McKinnon and Druin played in juniors together all those years on a line.
Right. That's right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
when
I knew that there was something there with them too in the
I mean,
past,
because
but
it was instant. Like, what do you expect from Jonathan Druin at this point in his career? Not what he did. He
right,
exceeded
right.
because of what he's been doing, right? And I don't even blame him. I mean, he was in Tampa and choked in that system a little bit. Um, I think he requested a trade, and that's how he ended up in Montreal, right?
Oh yeah,
Something like that. Because he was up and down in Syracuse. He was like, I'm not going back to Syracuse. I get
right.
it, dude. I don't want to even go shopping there, so I get it. But you know, I'm happy for him, and he's turned out to be a pretty great piece.
Yeah,
I love their depth. Like I said this last week, Casey Middlestat.
yeah.
Great trade for Bonebyram and Casey Middlestat. Casey's gonna do just fucking fine
Oh,
in
for
that
sure. Oh,
lineup.
I mean, he just shined immediately. It's like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't even skip a beat when he threw him out there. It's
Yep.
like I'm almost about to scrap this and say, "Fucking Dallas is third. We're out of here. This fucking Avs are taking over. You're riling me up now. Go
But they
Avs, go,
are,
baby."
man. And the thing is, and this is what happens every single year in these predictions on other pods and stuff, is like, oh, they weren't as competitive coming off their cup run, and then they slid a little bit due to injury. So fuck them.
Well, they just had the wind taken out of their sail. They
Yeah,
had Val
man.
go into the player assistants,
Yep.
and he was going on just astronomical numbers and a tear in the playoffs. And then you get your right hand man taken away when you're about to really take off and
Yep.
beat Dallas. I think that was that run, yeah.
Yep.
And that series, um, and that's kind of why I had to put Dallas above them a little bit because where is Val going to be? That's why I think I'm
Yeah.
going to piggyback you here because I do have them as my number two.
Right.
By a ball hair. Oh, these fucking balloons, wonderful.
That brought me so much joy.
I love that actually. I didn't know you could do that. And again, they have all the depth. They have undrafted Logan Connor, who is just a fucking workhorse, man. Like again, you could just go line
Mm-hmm.
by line and find these names, and I love their style of play. Denver holds a special place in my heart, obviously, but it just seems like when they lose a guy, they still find a guy who's just perfect for their just blue collar system. Like they're just all just tough Rust Belt guys out there.
Yeah,
And it's like it doesn't matter. It's like very next man up mentality. It does not matter your name, where you came from, or anything. It's like how fast you're going to go and how much can you score today. And they've had that mentality for quite a few years there. So even with Gabe with his knee blown out, he's still such a phenomenal leader. I'm
yeah.
hearing rumors out in Denver. Obviously, I'm not an insider or anything like that, but
Just
those who are, especially out there for like the Denver beat writers, it seems like Gabe is checking in on Val and calling him every day. It sounds like that's happening. What a guy, making sure this dude's going to get right back mentally. Again, when it comes down to it, substance abuse issues in Denver, very easy to fall into that trap. So it may not be the best environment. Who knows if he kind of keeps on in the cycle? I hope he doesn't, because he's such a phenomenal talent. And he does so well up in Colorado. So yeah, if they can get their captain kind of back on that ice, if Val comes back, man, it's their division to take back. It's
yeah,
Dallas's to lose. It's theirs to go gain again.
exactly.
So that's why I think those two teams, I'm excited. Those are the only two teams I give a shit about in this whole division. After this, it's going to get real sour,
Yeah.
but
Well,
they're awesome to watch. They're just so much fun to watch.
I can agree to a point that, when I do look at it, there's a third team I'm excited about, but again, when I say excited about, I'm not actually excited about them.
I'm curious.
I'm curious, I guess. Yeah, it's more like, I don't know, who's your third? I'm gonna let you start with your third. But my third, I'm still interested in, and it's because of their roster.
Yeah, so this is where, again, it's kind of like the other divisions where, man, it was neck and neck. It was very hard to go after it because these next two teams are very similar in a lot of ways. But I have Winnipeg as my third. Um, I think they're going to take a step back, though.
Okay,
There's just something that I can't, they're like gut instinct. I can't really buy into them fully. However, if Velarde really picks up, I think Velarde can be such an awesome asset to that team, and then maybe that fills a little bit more of the doubt that I have for them.
sure,
I mean, when you have guys like Kyle Connor and Shifley and everybody, like they're all on the same line, like they're gonna crush. And then their depth just kind of starts to trail a little bit. But again, when you have Hellebuck, he's still him, like that guy is him.
yeah, man,
Um, he just again, there's a lot of good goalies that are coming out and stuff, and I just, his it's just like, oh yeah, he's just always there. Nothing's gonna happen. The guy just still crushes year after year. They still managed to keep him. I thought he wanted out just like everybody else out of that dog shit town up there in Winnipeg. But they seem to just like have these guys buy in and get the band back together, and they signed them to good deals. So I don't think it's that much of a step back, but there's just something about that team where they kind of just shoot themselves in the foot again. Um,
sure.
if I hope I don't butcher this. I know he's been in the league forever, but I'm awful with names. But Ellers,
Yeah, Nikolai Ehlers.
Ehlers. He needs to be in the top six. I think last year, if I remember kind of watching Winnipeg to see who's who, maybe I can snake somebody fantasy wise off their team. That's how much I paid attention to him, just that length of it.
Sure,
Um, every time they kind of took him off top power play and out of the top six, they just went in these slumps. And
sure.
maybe I'm missing other pieces, but that's the only little connection that I see there where they kind of fall off with it as well. But they got other little additional good pieces to where I think that they're still gonna be a little bit more dominant than the other teams in this division. So that's why they can kind of keep that third spot. They do have a solid defense, but is it enough? But again, when you got a guy like Hellebuck in the back, it doesn't matter. To me, as long as you
He,
have a good. solid 4.
Yeah, I they're my 3-2,
Hmm.
and I said this to you last time.
I thought you were 4. Never mind.
No, they're my three. This is, I think, the only one we agreed on.
Okay.
They're the only team that I cannot wrap my head around why they're not having more success.
Hmm.
Because you look at them and you can say you're okay, we're way outside of giving a shit about Winnipeg, and it's further removed because they're not in the hottest Canadian market. They're not talked about on NHL recap as much and stuff like that. Their fan base is super loyal and awesome. I remember Whiteout in the playoffs. It was really cool. They've gone through ups and downs, tremendous ups and downs. But at its core, that team, when you start piecing it together, you're like, how the fuck are they not like a dynasty? Like,
Right. Right.
but I also understand that their defensive structure is weaker than the first two teams we talked about. But it's not that much weaker. It's just not as star-studded, right? Like Morrissey, Pionk, incredible. Villy Hinola. They have Logan Stanley's a 6'7" tree.
Right.
Then they have other things like Hayden Fleury was a great ad. Dylan Coughlin's a dog. Uh, so I do think that they've taken like a little bit of a step here, right? I I don't know if it's a tremendous step. It's just to me, it's different in they're not taking a step back, but they're taking like a half a scoop forward because their forward group. I want to talk about something really important. This happened a while ago, but the PLD return was tremendous. Holy shit, what a win for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two centers and a wing for a guy that's not on that team anymore. And all three of these players, by the way, are on the team. That's Alex Iafallo,
Mm-hmm.
Gabe Velarde, and who was the other one? Well, Rasmus Kapari.
Okay.
And there was more to it too. I think they got a couple picks back too for PLD. I'm not digging into the trade right now, but I know it was substantial, and it worked out tremendously well for them because you're talking about three goddamn players on their fucking NHL starting roster that are top six players, mid six players. And that's me saying, like, hey, that's the return you got for then. You lost PLD, so who replaced it? Well, dude, did you need to? Ehlers, Kyle Connor, dude. Bruins should have had him. Kyle Connor,
Dude. Yeah.
Mark Scheifele. Uh, it just, so there you go there. And then you got the older guys that are still good. And you don't need a rider. Vlad Nemeskinov, or whatever his name is, he was in Tampa for a long time. And then you've got these great prospects. The Rutger McGroarty for Braden Yeager, Brad Lambert. Brad Lambert, dude, he's gonna be that second tier guy.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be the guy that's like talked about like Matty Beniers or something. But he's in
Mm-hmm.
that second tier. He's that B plus. He's definitely an A, but he's in B plus conversation. So what are they missing? They're
So I
big.
think that's kind of where it is what are those guys going to do? They finally got these, like, there's just a lot of unknown right now with them. I have full faith in them that they're still going to be a contender, like there is so much talent on that team. Um, so it's just a matter of where's the chemistry at? What's going to take them to get right past these two top teams that we just discussed? It's still, again, there's just something about them where I just feel like, I do know injuries plagued them a little bit. Velarde was in and out of the lineup a lot last year. I just don't know for what and how long and stuff. But every time I try to be like, I hear this name and I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go after him and see if we can keep him. Maybe he's just going to be that new young stud. And then it's just like, oh, he's out again. And it's like, oh, you just can't get the momentum going. Maybe that's just what it is. You're just like up and down in this roller coaster with them. So I don't know. I still think based when it comes on to they had a lot of acquisitions. A lot of them are young. A little bit of them are a little unknown. We'll just see how they mesh and where they go. I still think they might just take a little step back from last year's performance, but I still think it keeps them in that spot in top 3.
Sure. Yeah. That's enough about them because seriously, we're already in the who gives a shit phase, and there's fucking so many more teams to talk about. And I'm gonna try, guys. I really am gonna try to give you my best here, but I'm already bored. Who's your fourth?
it's
Fucking
it's the Preds.
Okay.
I think based on last year, they really didn't take a step back, even though they got a little older. They still got some names, they still got some dogs, they still got guys who are still going to produce. And then they still had a bunch of key pieces there that were producing. I mean, they got the goaltending right. Saros is going to stay fucking pretty top dog. I can't see that man regressing at all. I don't know who is falling behind him just in case he doesn't want to play that day. Gets a little. Oh, Matt Murray?
Oh no, it's not that Matt Murray.
Different Matt
It's the
Murray. I
other
saw. I was
Matt
like,
Murray.
what the hell? It's like, how did that slip underneath my radar after the shit I
No,
talked to him last
other
episode?
they
Yeah, all
took they
right.
took Wedgwood too.
Wedgwood
Both backups from Dallas last year.
in Dallas.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So, yeah, it seems like their goaltending pretty decent. They can skate by with Wedgwood and stuff like that. Um, Philip Forsberg is phenomenal.
yeah, dude.
The guy is just so good year after year. I mean, and then you're going to throw in what? Just a dog. And you're going to throw in Stamkos. Not going to hurt you. He's old,
No,
sure, new system, but it's not going to hurt your team by any means. I just can't see
no.
that happening. The thing with Nashville is, what Ryan O'Reilly are you going to get this year? I don't
Yeah.
think he's that guy. I don't know. There's just nothing that's been impressive with him. Um, he just seems to have really taken a step back. Watch, I talk all this shit now, and the man's going to go off for 40 goals somehow this year. But I'm pretty confident that Ryan O'Reilly is just, I don't know. I think he's just taking up space there. I wish Nashville kind of did something with him if they could have done something with him. Um, and their top, I mean, when you go a little bit deeper with them, they got guys that are just going to fucking chip at you too. Lausen's going to hurt you. They have just other guys that just hit and block, and they play this perfect, just you're not getting past this wall defense. So their schemes really well. And then they have Shea and Yossi on the same line as well too that I've seen. Um, I don't
Which
know,
again, I'm
two.
really surprised at having dual left shots on set, and especially with Yosi kind of running it his own way. I find that surprising. I just wanted to throw that in there. I read that too. That's silly. Split that up.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Split
will.
that up.
I'm sure they will. You know how
I
the year
hope they
goes.
do.
They mix and match. They're going to put top dogs together to see what points they can get out of it. But it's two really good defensemen and really good names to have back there
Sure.
for you, especially with the goaltending that you have. And then I kind of forgot. I didn't have this note or anything, but Marchessault's with them now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Again, I mean, I don't know what we're rolling eyes about. It's
Boring.
still not going to
Boring.
hurt you. It's not going to hurt you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he was a big piece in the Vegas run and everything. And this team just has a lot of guys on there now that have been, to the show, to the big dance. So it's probably nice to have all those championship mindsets on that team.
Sure.
But they're old. They're
Yeah.
boring. They're old. The best part about their games is drinking beer out of a catfish. But other than that, I don't know. I just can't see them taking that step over Winnipeg. That just like they just have a lot of promise in Winnipeg. So yeah, they have a nice little comfortable spot at 4 with me.
All right. They're my fifth.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're my fifth. And here's the thing, right? It's you go up and down in this team. They've had their struggles in the past. They've had their struggles since the playoffs with Subban and Crosby's reign, right? And
Mhm.
they've done a lot of like shifting around bad contracts, good contracts, lose a big piece, gain a big piece, and nothing's ever stuck. This team, for some reason, just has no synergy, it feels like. Now, the people that have been there for a long time that are really good, Saros, Yossi, I mean, they're otherworldly good, Forsberg. Everybody else that they acquired, the best example I can give you, right, is like, hey, I built this super team, right? I took all the best and I'm chugging along and I'm getting in the playoffs. And then what I did at the trade deadline is I added all the best again. All you're doing is adding all these names. You don't know if it's going to work. And
Right.
there's so much change. So much change. Shea, Marchessault, Stamkos, those are three main pieces. You don't know that's going to work. You don't
Right.
know, and you invested a ton of money in an aged out situation. And the truth is, they're all good, but you don't know if they're going to work. And so I am not sold on saying that these guys are even playoffs. I'm not. I think it's bizarre because a lot of names on this list have a lot of playoff history and stuff like that. And then a lot of the names on this list, you could tell me were baseball players, and I wouldn't know. Because
Yeah.
who the fuck is Ozzie Weaselbat? What the, you know, like, I, all joking aside, they have some good pieces. I do not think they're a playoff contender. I think their defense is a joke outside of Yossi. I do not like the Marchessault signing. I don't. I don't. I don't really care. I think Stamkos being on that team is a bright light for them, and it's exciting. You're right about Ryan O'Reilly. You don't know what you're going to get. I'm actually struggling to see anything else here to talk about. Like Evangelista, I've heard. Zach LaRue, I've heard. Uh, yeah, they're my fifth. I'm bored.
Yeah, they've
Yeah,
they've gotten rid of some guys that they should have kept. I mean, they had like Tanner Jeannot on that team, and I think that they were like heading in the right direction. They kind of moved him around and stuff, and I was like, who?
Tanner Jeannot was worth keeping until someone comes knocking on your door and says, "I will give you 30 picks for
Right.
him." You
Yeah,
have to get rid of him.
you
Like
have to.
that was
I
so
know.
stupid.
I know, but
But
it's, and somebody knocks on that means you got somebody worth it. And from what I've seen
yeah,
out of him, the dude can hit, block, score, assist, fucking just dog.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a little, I don't know. For some reason, they're just always in it, and then once we can start keep on chipping away at the rest of this, it's not going to get much better.
I'm
Um,
gonna I'm gonna tell you my fourth now though.
yeah, what is it?
It's the most controversial on the list, I believe. It's the Wild.
That's crazy.
I think a lot of people would find this take crazy.
Yeah, I do.
I don't really give a
I
shit.
wouldn't be surprised though, because it's almost again like I know we've been saying it's anybody's game. The other division's been anybody's game because of the talent and the nose of the grindstone playing. For this, it's like man, they've all in some way shot themselves in the fucking foot, and they're all just bad in their own way. But I'll let you go. My bad to cut you off here again.
No, you're good, man. I just want to say any team, all right, any team that is in Minnesota's position where they have 15 million fucking dollars in buyout money is going to struggle to make a bunch of moves and to make their team competitive. But this team has made some really intelligent trades and they have bright shining lights. Again, I'm putting them fourth. I don't think that they're going to be a top three, and they might not even make playoffs in fourth. So that's why I feel safe in saying don't rule them out. They're cap strapped right now. They're doing the best that they fucking can with what they got. But what
Right.
they have when the smoke settles too is a really fucking good team.
I agree.
Really
I
good
do
team.
agree.
Let me just go over this really quick because I honestly could give a fuck. And so it's looking at their goaltending. Flower will always be one of my favorite goalies. I don't know what you're going to get with him anymore, but Jesper Wallstedt, I do. He
Yeah.
is about to break into the league. He's an Askarov-esque. He's going to take over. He's going to have the reins. He's going to be fun. And I know Philip Gustafsson is their starter right now. So, okay, Fleury, whatever. Maybe he's 1B a little bit, but he's going to be more like a backup this year in my gut.
Mhm.
And when that's done, Wallstedt is going to be there to just be like, oh, I'm challenging Gustafsson. Gustafsson's no joke. Wallsted's no joke.
Correct.
Going to right into the defenseman. There's not a lot of star-studded talent there, man. There's not a lot of good things to say. I think Jared Spurgeon's fine. I think Jake Middleton's got the best mustache in the NHL, so therefore he is good. But there is one guy, and I told you this, Brock Faber, what would have taken the Calder if the hype around Bedard wasn't there. Brock Faber, incredible. I
Stud.
went over his stats. I'm not gonna because I don't really care. But for what he did in his first, he played 2 NHL games before this past season, and as a defenseman who was not on the top, worked his way up from I think he was always a top four. He did tremendous work, and he showed all of what he's got. He's the most exciting guy on that team right now. And I
I
know
do.
this. Thank you. Brodeen's still there. Bogosian's there. That's great. They're dogs, but they're not. They're not. We are talking again about a fourth bubble fifth team. So
Right.
you go up to the top, and Eriksson Ek's fucking one of the best centers in the league.
For
He just
sure.
is. Marcus
For sure.
Foligno's a dog. I hope he comes back a little bit. He's had a rough couple seasons. Matt Boldy's
Dog, though.
phenomenal. Dog.
Dog.
Boldy's a dog. I'm just gonna say dog a lot, but Kaprizov's
That's my favorite. That's
like
my favorite.
on the Russian gas, dude. Kaprizov's the man.
Yeah,
Marco
Kaprizov, of
Rossi.
course. They're going to have their top guys and everything for sure.
I know that the
Um,
bottom six is a little bit left to be desired, but I
yeah,
think there's
because
enough here for them to plug and play and find some grit on the bottom lines. Yeah, I think they're going to beat out Nashville. There's less question marks with this team that can't make big moves for me than with Nashville that made all the big moves. All you did was grab a bunch of people in different systems, put them in your system, and said they're good names, so it must work.
they're
Whereas
good
in the
players.
Wild, they
Most of them
they
really
are.
good players.
Didn't say they weren't. I just said you
We'll
don't
see how
know.
they mesh. If they mesh,
Right.
though, it's a really good
Yeah.
scenario to be in for a little
They
bit.
should be the team that most improve in this division. I do not believe in them. I don't.
Mm.
And Minnesota has a core that should be looked at with a little bit more respect than they're given, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Whoever's not giving Minnesota respect, I know I'm kind of on my list. I'm really not. But it's because of a lot of their like moves and stuff. And like you said, they're kind of cap strapped. They have their guys. I mean, yeah, everybody that you just mentioned right there. Yeah, I have them all noted too. Just because they are all fucking dogs. They're super talented and stuff, but they still just took a little bit of a step back, and their goaltending is a little bit of a question mark for right now. And I'm only saying that for this year, though. My thought when I was writing down my notes exactly was that I'm only giving them this year to kind of be in this little weird bottom half of this division here. It ain't going to be for long. I just can't see it for long. They're still a top, just fucking tough team. Ryan Hartman, when he turns it on too,
Mm-hmm.
he's still under
Mm-hmm.
30. He's a good piece of that team. A lot of these guys over the last few years, it's amazing that they're always still just like almost crossing that finish line. And then they just can't get over that hump. But I mean, if you look at Kaprizov, it was like 24 just a couple of years ago. Like Eriksson X was probably not that far off either. So yeah, I mean, they're all 20, like young 20s. Now they're all hitting that prime age. They're prime, just athleticism. I'm sure the game is slowing down for them now. But I still think they're just missing. They got bigger holes on that team than Nashville right now. So I think it's the opposite. It's just a matter of can Nashville have that chemistry? I think they will. Um, but I have Minnesota a little bit farther down. So we don't need to spend too much time on that because it seems like we just covered them fully. Um,
So they are your fifth.
they are my fifth. Yes.
Okay. So then
Oh,
you're
I'm sorry. I'm
moving
sorry.
on.
No, they're my sixth. I'm sorry. They're my sixth.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that was wrong, but that's fine.
Because we want to talk about believing in teams, right? Let's talk about believing in some teams, pal.
I am
Uh,
literally dying because I fucking hate this so much.
I know. So that's why
I
I
want to
need
say
to
one
spice
more
this
thing.
up. Okay, go
A lot
ahead.
of people. One more thing on Kaprizov real quick. He was picked 135th overall. Just like Kucherov, because he's Russian, picked later. You want to know what really sucks? Really fucking sucks about that pick, that 135? That was Boston's pick. That they
Oh, it's always
traded.
fucking Bruins shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Listen to me. They traded that pick for a guy that never made it out of the ECHL and
Yeah,
has retired from hockey. And
yeah.
what the Wild got
Love it.
was Kirill Kaprizov.
Love it.
If you just see my feet swinging in front of this camera, you know why. Okay?
Yeah, if it fans our butts for candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry
Yeah.
fucking Christmas,
All
Mick.
right, go
But,
on with your
here we
fucking
are.
put the Wild sixth. Go on.
Yeah, we're putting the Wild six. They're just gonna take a fucking step back. Everybody's on IR on
Sure.
that fucking team,
Just go
and they
on.
have no
Just
and
tell
they have
me.
no goaltending. Um,
They have all.
However,
I just named three great goalies. Just fucking tell me who your
yeah,
fifth
we'll see
is.
where they're at. They all have 800 save percentages here
What?
too. So, anyways, we're gonna move on to. I think the Utahs are gonna shock this division a little bit because of how fucking dog water the rest of this bottom is here. I think with Utah here, they had a lot of young, great players and some decent talent that, from what I saw at the end of last year, it looked like they're like, you know what? We're the fucking misfits. And we're all going to band together. And they started kicking ass and they have that talent in them. I mean, like, can you win when you're changing in a locker room where your fans can see your ass cheeks because you just have a sheet around you? You're playing in Arizona State, I think, whatever. Who cares?
Yep.
Those colleges are
Yep.
fake. Um, but they handled it very professionally. Sorry, got myself. But they handled that whole scenario professionally. They handled the move professionally. I really like this top line that they have. Nick Schmaltz is nobody to fucking scoff at. That guy is fucking tough. He's in corners. He's slapping pucks. I watched that guy have like 12 shots on goal a night. And it's just a shame that none of them can go in the net. But once they do start going in the net, maybe he's a scary guy, you know?
Right. Right.
I think, I mean, yeah, Clayton Keller on there. They got the young talent too of Logan Cooley. He's a special talent, Pittsburgh boy. And then you got Hayton on there too. There's just names that are starting to grow there. And then you acquire a pretty decent, acquisition players from on defense too. You get Dursey, you get Sergachev. I think they can just actually, if they can just somehow find a way to really find their identity, get comfortable, actually have a real locker room for once, man, they might do something special out there. It would be cool if they had an actual identity and got a name, and I don't have to call them the Utahs, but maybe they're rounding third on that pretty soon.
Hmm.
And to touch on goaltending, they still have. I should have done my homework.
Ingram
They got
and
Veg.
Veg Yep.
We still got
Veg.
Vechmelka.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the guy stopped 60 pucks. Ingram's not bad when he has to fill in too. Um,
No, they're both pretty good.
yeah, I mean Ingram's got a 907 save percentage here. So yeah, their goaltending's pretty well. I really like their defense. They have some old heads. They've got John Marino on there too.
That's.
Um,
I think you meant to say got Marino instead of Dursey. Dursey's been there a little bit, but yeah, Marino they just got right from free
I'm
agency
sorry.
or from
Yeah,
the
they
Devils.
got that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
when they were in Arizona, I'm also kind of piecing those two teams
Yeah. Yeah.
together.
I
So
got you.
they picked up Jersey out of L.A. I think.
Okay.
Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
wrong on
Yeah. I
that, but I
think you're
think he
right.
came from some Pacific team.
Yep.
Um, but I remember him being a top name and people talking about him. And he seemed to be a pretty solid, piece here. And again, he seems like another misfit guy. It looks like he was doing well. Yeah, I'm 99% sure he's in LA. He was doing well in LA, and
Jersey
then
is. Yeah.
yeah, and then weird. What they kicked him out, and I mean, how many games did he? Was got 41 points last year.
Right.
So I mean, he didn't play that many games, I don't think. So yeah, I think they just have a lot of great names on there. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. That's always great to have. So they just look more appealing to me than Minnesota.
That's fair, man. I don't agree. Not because of anything you said, just because they are still in the phase of let this grow, let this be young acquisitions, a lot of picks, a lot of prospects, and see what it becomes. I can't put faith in them being any higher than sixth. I do understand your takes. Like Schmaltz is great. I do think that what's his name, Keller, phenomenal hockey player. Uh, Mikhail Sergachev was an amazing pickup for them.
It helps a lot.
It helps a lot because I mean other defensemen aren't really there. I mean Valimaki, he was in Calgary for a bit. I know Ian Cole and John Marino are there. They just love the Penguins dumpster diving, but I can't really see this
Bukestad's
team.
there. Bukestad's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean here's what I'm excited about. Right, one, I'm excited that they're somewhere else and not in the shithole that they were in.
Yeah, for real. Same.
It's a damn shame that they didn't find a name in time. They had plenty of time.
They have plenty of.
This isn't a required name change like the Redskins or something like that when they became the Washington football team. You had That had to be done, and this didn't. You had plenty of time. This is a joke. This is a way to double up on your jersey sales because when you name them, you can just sell them all again. I hate that shit. And it's a joke. But it wouldn't be the Zona Coyotes without a joke associated with them, right? Like, there's got to be some
Exactly.
bullshit attached.
Got to be
And
something
they,
attached to it.
I will say this, right? There's probably three people on this team that are really, really great. Outside of that, there's a bunch of good hockey players. What I'm excited about is Logan Cooley, Dylan Genther,
Mm.
Tija Ginla, Josh Doan. These children that are really, really, really exciting. That's why I would pay attention. And I know you've watched them more than me, and I don't know enough to sit here and say anything, but I don't have any faith in this shit going any further than 6. And that's fine. They're still going to be great to be in a new place and have
Yeah.
fun. And hey, if they have success, good for them. I can't see it. And I don't really
Yeah.
care anymore. I'm bored with this. Let's move on to the bottom shithole 2.
Yeah, we talked
Uh,
enough about fucking Minnesota. Is that where you're heading? Or no, we're at
no,
Nashville. Nashville, I mean.
no, I already told you where Nashville was.
4, 5. Okay.
My bottom 2 are simple
Okay.
because there's 2 left. I mean, at first, do you remember when I had this rant last time? I'm never going to be able to repeat what we missed in the first recording of how
No, I just
upset
wanted to
I
forget
got.
everything after that. I was kind of pissed and I just was like, I'm forgetting everything. And I just.
By the final takes, I had put the Blackhawks last, and then got so fucking angry looking at the St. Louis roster that I
Yeah,
switched
we
them.
both. That's right. We
Yeah,
both pissed each other
remember
off
that?
about talking about this fucking thing. That's right. I
So,
forgot.
so I'm gonna say right now that my 8 is St. Louis, and I'm gonna make this really quick because there's nothing to fucking talk about here. Jordan Kyrou, Robert
Booch
Thomas.
and Booch.
I don't care. I don't care. That's it. Colton Parayko. I don't know what happened to him, but he was great. I don't have any faith. I guess Joel Hofer, their backup goalie there, is better than Binnington now. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
this is a joke. This is a joke team. I mean, they beat me in the cup not too long ago, and this is what I'm looking at right now. Let me
I
just
know.
say right off the bat. Oh, Bush. You're saying
Oh.
Pavel Buchnevich is what you're referring to, right? Oh yeah, he's great. Okay, yeah, he is somebody to talk about. But I don't care about any of this shit. This is all bad,
Nope.
and they're all good hockey players. This is just all bottom 4, bottom 6 players. Like, this is amazing. And I want to say, like, I didn't get to say this last time because I was freaking out about this roster so much. Torrey Krug having that fucking life-ending, career-ending injury, that sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks. I watched his presser, and my cousin Tommy, that I always want to kill in this pod, he sent it to me, and he's choked up at 8 minutes because he talks about how hard it was to carry his kids up the stairs. Dude, it sucks you're losing your job that you love more than probably fucking anyone on that team. But it sucks even more that you had to realize that in a press conference, that this has been hard on my life, right? So I'm happy he's gone for his life. But it fucking sucks he's gone for hockey. Krug is the GOAT. Rest in peace, man. I love
It
him.
sucks for this team to lose a guy like that too. The heart that guy had
Yeah.
is a tough piece to fill. That's a tough piece.
Well, I can tell you that because I'm still trying to recover from him not being a Bruin, right? Like, I understand he had to go. And honestly, hockey wise, maybe Don knew what was going on with his ankle. Maybe it wasn't worth the
Mhm.
money that St. Louis was willing to give him, and maybe it makes more sense now because he had that injury in Boston, and he
Oh,
brought
okay.
that up in the presser. And apparently, he's getting in his, like, I don't know the science or the doctor shit. He's like bolting that ankle into that foot. So this is like, and they were like, "Hey, does anybody ever come back?" And he's like,
Now
"No."
with your bolt
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
ankle, nah. Damn.
I'm I
R.I.P.
am Yeah, it sucks. But this team sucks, and
The team sucks.
they're gonna be dead last because when we were looking at these rosters, I'll just go to 7 real quick because I'm already done. I'm done. There's
Yeah.
nothing. Sorry, St. Louis fans. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. You ruined the cup for me. You were dead last in December. I'm not going into this. Fuck them.
Listen, I
But
was a
um,
big Blues guy. All
shut
right,
up.
big Blues guy. But I can't
Chi-
buy into this team. I can't buy into this. Great,
I
there's great little pieces in there. It's going to be fun to watch. Sure, dog shit team.
no.
Sorry, guys.
Listen,
Sorry about it.
the Blackhawks have added, and this is the thing, right? Their defense is nothing. They have Seth Jones. It's the same thing over on. I don't even think I can pick a defenseman on St. Louis that I have faith in. I know that like what's his name, Justin Folk
Oh,
is a
yeah.
good defense. He's aging, man. Like I don't know what he's going to be this year, especially with no one around him. So at least the Blackhawks have fucking Seth Jones. I mean, outside of that, TJ Brody's on there now. Alec Martinez is on there, but these are again, this is tough,
Again,
tough,
yeah.
tough.
That's the thing with Chicago. Kyle Davidson did a decent job to get these players that if somebody gets hurt, you can kind of fill in the spot.
Sure.
Sure, great strategy. I get it. Um, but yeah, again, they're still. It's kind of like the Minnesota thing. I think they're bad right now. I don't think they're going to be bad for very long. I think there's just going
No.
to be years there, but they're going to figure it out. They have Mrazek as their
Yeah,
goaltender
Mrazek's
now.
their goalie.
He
I
seemed
don't
to
know
do
if he's
okay last year, I think. So yeah, I mean he did well last year. So their goaltending's not the worst piece of their whole team, so that's a good sign. And then yeah, picking up Alec Martinez, sure, old as shit, but the guy's again just a pylon. He's just there to eat rubber. And if you can get a guy that can just take puck after puck in front of your, shitty defense, and he's going to get hurt every 3 weeks, and he's going to go away for 5 weeks and come back. But there's just nobody else on this team that I don't even know. They're all old. That seems
well,
like they're
well,
old. Oh, they're fucking big though. I'll give them that.
well. Here's the thing. Fuck their defense, man. Like you look at it in a vacuum. Last year's roster, Bedard was the only forward that was really worth talking about because Taylor Hall, who was gifted to them, got injured right away. Was out the season. He's 100%,
Like, they're
right?
working their way up to that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
damn.
know. But this is my final say on this. I look at it like this: Tavo Teravainen coming home. People don't overlook that. He's a phenomenal top six winger.
Yep.
Tyler Bertuzzi's there now.
And
Phenomenal
then
top six winger. Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno. You have Bedard. You have Kurashev. You have that Jason Dickinson guy. And not to mention, you have Ilya Mikheyev coming over. I mean, you have a top nine. You really do.
right,
And Patrick Maroon's there. He's got to defend. Donato's there. There's a lot, actually, when it comes to their up
right.
front that St. Louis just cannot compete with. And
Just
again, we're talking about shit or turd. It's still bad, but
right.
not for long in Chicago because they were
Not for
gifted
long.
Bedard.
I agree. They were given. Yeah, I have a line here with those names that you just rattled off with Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Foligno, Dogs. Good. Like those are the names I was thinking that they brought in there. So when somebody falls out, they have somebody there. It's still good, but who the fuck are they really going to be? Yeah, they're sitting 7 for me too. So
And then so eight St. Louis for you.
yeah, yeah. No, they're
Wow.
awful.
I think we
They're,
both just changed our goddamn minds on those two teams. But honestly, shit or turd. Who cares? I
yep.
recap. My number one's Avs. Yours is Dallas. My number two is Dallas. Yours is Avs. Number three we agree on is Winnipeg. Number four for you was Preds.
Yep.
Number four for me was the Wild.
Wild.
Number five for me was the Preds. Number five for you was Utah.
Utah.
Number six for me was Utah. Number six for you was
Minnesota.
Minnesota, right? You dogged the shit out of them. And then we both agree 7 and 8 are Chicago and dog shit St. Louis. That's our final. We if this pod doesn't take, and I'm
I'm
leaving
done.
this in,
I'm not doing it. We're just jumping
then
to
you're not
Pacific.
gonna see an episode 4.
No,
This
no.
better have worked.
So,
All right, I closed the book on that
this,
shit. Do you have anything else to add?
um, who's your wild card team in this dog shit division that might just surprise you
Surprised
out
the
of
shit out of
there?
me.
Yeah.
Man, Utah. They could.
All right. So,
They
all
could.
right. You bought. I bought. Yeah, you've bought in. We just got you sold now.
No,
Let's go.
no. I just think that just like when I think I mentioned this in the pod that didn't take was when Vegas came on the scene, the Misfits type thing, like no one had faith in them. They went to the Cup, right? Like they have an energy, and they're coming out of literal hell.
Right.
Like the majority of that team is coming out of literal hell. So I don't have belief in the team because of what they've shown me on the ice, but they probably are stoked on their situation. And if they catch wind, I can see them just riding it. Like so they would be my wild card. Hey, maybe they are in the playoffs. I don't know, but I don't actually have enough faith in them to predict that. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. That's how I feel about Minnesota. I feel like that's just that
Sure.
team. They're going to take a big old step back, but if they can, they
Both of
still
our
have that core that
both
can
of
do it.
our number sixes we think
Yeah,
might be something else, which is funny. But
yeah.
also, what I really don't care about is any of
I don't.
it.
I'm
I
gonna
am,
forget all about this as soon as I walk away from this.
yeah, and I am excited to talk about the Pacific because there is fun stuff over there. Like
Yeah,
I am not a
so
Pacific fan, but there's enough stuff that I followed and are interested in. Enough storyline for I think our final episode here on the predictions to be interesting. The only thing I will add, dude, preseason starts this weekend.
right.
It's
It's
here,
here.
baby.
It's here.
It's starting to come, and I think you know I'm going to tune in. There's a Rangers Bruins game on Sunday on ESPN Plus. I don't think that we have enough time yet to talk about what's actually going on there, but I think we have enough time to put in Week 5 in our pod. We could just kind of do a preseason recap.
For sure.
What was surprising because we have all these predictions. They're there. They're in stone. Did our minds change even from what we watched? Did anybody like break in stuff like that? I think that'd be a fun discussion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. These guys are on the ice. I get excited, so I'm looking
Yep.
forward to talking about any game that's coming around soon, and anything that gets me away from this dog shit division. So thanks for watching this and sticking through it. This was episode 3 of the Central. Here, we're going to be tuning in on the Pacific after this. Peace.
Later.